Once more we enter the world of the living, and we are faced with a great mystery on our hands. A good deal of information was revealed this last time. This figure sheds the same tears as Merica, and he's juxtaposed with a gilded iron shield, with the haunting, shambling remains of these undead warriors, those who live in death. And behind him, we found a certain item. The bewitching branches crafted from a sacred tree by the Empyrean Mikola. Or I should say, tree branch blessed with an incantation of unalloyed gold, crediting the Empyrean Mikola. Now, you might suspect that Mikola is actually the name of this person. He is currently someone we have no actual connection with, as far as direct evidence for his identity, other than what is being shown in this general area. The fact that he is posed like a crucifix, whereas Merica in her statues is posed similar to one on a crucifix. The fact that he has this grid of gold immediately behind him. The fact we find a crucified person over this way, and below that person was blood grease, suggesting that blood is being connected with this individual, as we might have already gleaned from the fact that iron is being connected to them. Iron, blood, and rage of some sort. A sort of battle rage are all associated, and these are being drawn into connection with this man. In turn, it seems almost as if he's connected with the misbegotten, but the fact that they share so many traits might be misleading us. We would need additional evidence to back that claim up. Regardless, since we have a bit of a mystery on our hands, we ought to see if we can't find an answer to that mystery. And so, in search of answers, we will go down here, seeking the Erd Tree. For, at the very least, these pilgrims seem to be journeying from that area. That was not embarrassing at all. But regardless, this path right here ought to lead me to some interesting places. As we will remember, this Weeping Peninsula is a place where the outside world appears to be mirrored and ciphered in some way, allowing us to perceive things about this world that we might not otherwise be able to actually come across a knowledge of. We will be journeying down this way. However, before that, there is one little detail which we did not properly give attention to last time. We were conscious. See, there's this spirit here, and in order to properly interpret things, we ought to pay them heed. What say you, O long-necked, cross-bearing sword? The mausoleum prowls, cradling the soulless demigod. Oh, Merica, Queen Eternal, he is your unwanted child. That... dear, oh dear. That is something that seems like it would have some very interesting implications. Immediately, my mind is drawn to this person. See, there is a he which is being referred to, and this person is directly in front of this church of pilgrimage. So at the very least, it leads me to think there's a strong chance that this person could be Merica's unwanted child. We shall see whether that holds up properly in the future. The mausoleum prowls, though. What could that possibly mean? We shall have to wait and see. It is a very enigmatic phrase. Oh. That is a rather large building on legs. I suppose that probably actually qualifies. If a mausoleum is prowling, well, it's going to be a building that has limbs of some sort, some means of transporting itself. So I think that might be what the ghost is referring to. This does not invalidate the thought that that figure in there might be America's unwanted child, but since it's a statue, it could very well be portraying someone who has already died. We'll find out whether or not there's actually a corpse in this mausoleum later. For now, I already declared mine intent to seek out the depths of the golden tree, and so we shall be journeying this way. Let's be sure to pick around the perimeter, though, see what else we can find before we ascend the mountain proper. Oh, another one of these people. It continues to be quite curious that they don't have any leaves or fruit upon their branches. They do have a tree growing upon them, but it's a barren tree. Sort of creeping, gnarled thing. Oh. And you, guide of the dead. You with your little wicked candle that almost looks like it's holding, or I should say, burning deathroot rather than wax. And is producing a pale blue ghostly flame. You are showing me an interesting path. It would seem we have a nearby catacomb. I might have missed it if not for that statue. Let us see what we could find then. In this place that should be reflective of an underground passage below the Erdtree capital. Tombsward Catacombs. Catacombs to be found below or towards the tomb, perhaps. Towards the tomb. There is a mausoleum out there. Oh, there's Deathroot. Dear, oh dear. Continues to be creepy. The way these eyes seem to follow us as we move. Regardless, let's see what we can... Ooh. That's interesting. A statue of a bronze maiden, coated in a sort of verdigris color, indicating age. Veneration as well. She has an altar, essentially, placed in front of her, with burning candles. No, snuffed out candles. But an item laying in front of it atop a burning corpse that makes it look as if there is a soul which is aflame. It's also the case that we can see fire that, at least through this fog gate, looks to be a different color than the pale blue flame. Out here, we can see a sort of blackish, grayish smoke coming up from inside of there. Whereas if there's any smoke at all for this bluish stuff, it is a sort of whitish, snowy texture, coloration. But back there, now it's gray or blackened. Two candlesticks stand on either side as well, framing her and signaling that this person is one of great importance. We ought to pay that heed. But be careful, because there might be dangers looking around the corner. Liar! I can see that there is an item ahead. Pshaw. What horrid advice. Let us examine and find out exactly what is going on in there. Stone sword key, pierce the skull and break the veil. Oh, skeletons. Very large skeletons indeed. Almost gigantic, you might say. They seemed about twice as tall as I am. I wonder if I'll find people about that height later on. Perhaps in association with someone similar to this. Through the fog wall, it does look like it's much more clearly the same type of flame. Just as this is actually showing a bluish pillar coming up, like a spirit being drawn into the heavens here. Let's find out what this is, then. Nomadic Warrior Cookbook 9. Expands crafting repertoire. A record of crafting techniques left by roaming nomadic warriors, those of Kale's ilk. Contains knowledge for surviving in this utterly scarce world, with a civilization and supply routes have largely broken down. Acquire knowledge to craft the following. Raincore pot. Grave violet and human bone shards. Found by hunting those who live in death. Now this is interesting. The grave violet has the hue of ghost flame. But those who live in death are tainted by destined death, revived by deathroot. And so you might find that the spirits which are spawned via this pot ought to glow with a sort of horrific fire themselves. Let's see what we might uncover with this sort of thing. Oh yes, and this woman is probably associated with the undead in some way. And deathroot is creeping up on either side, in the same way that these candlesticks, which seemed, I should add, to not be lit from outside the fog wall, were then actually lit when we got in here. 3 candles, I should add. 3 is associated with beryllium. Beryllium is, I believe, specifically associated with death. Death magic. Necromancy. So, makes sense that they would light up when we came in here and those dead were revived. But we can also see 3 more, no, just 2. 2 more candles here were lit up, which suggests, especially since they are in the midst of 2 more on either side, It suggests that these are indicating 5 or completion altogether. Completion and intelligence is being evoked. With a total of 6 candles right there, you could also say humanity is being underscored. This ought to be someone who is very human, as necromancers often will seem, often having sort of tragic stories of how they lost their loved ones and want to manipulate life and death in order to see them return. So, in the same plane, in the same line, we have 8, which is the crucible, given those 2 goblets here. Relatively unremarkable goblets, not much in the way of adornment. And then you can add it up to 10. 10 is 8 plus 2. Crucible and the sun. You have a sort of solar divinity being emphasized here. How could she be related to this? We'll have to think very carefully when we find out more about what rancor is related to, as well as what the sun has to do with death. Now, I will remind everyone, these sorts of burning flames of pale whitish blue, we could find them, if I don't remember incorrectly, being used by the Deathbirds. I think that's the first real usage of them that we've seen, other than inside of these catacombs here. So Deathbirds are to be associated with this type of flame. And there's a chandelier up there as well. So let's count out how many fires in general there actually are, including the one there. So in this room, let's at first not count this one that's at the very edge. There was another one of the candlestands there, so that's 4 candlestands. Death is being invoked. Then you have 2 more in the goblets. Humanity, black, carbon. 2 more here, crucible, divinity. 1 here, actual divinity. Purity in the ascension, perhaps. So that would be 9 candles within the actual room itself, which are lit, and then a 10th, which represents that same sort of solar divinity feeling. So this woman should be associated with the crucible, with divinity, with humanity, with darkness, with undeath, with death itself, with necromancy, and rancorous spirits. This flame, it sort of indicates that this woman should be related probably to the Deathbirds as well, I think. Anyway, moving on. Let's see what else this catacomb has to offer. 3 more candles lit up here. Suggests necromancy will continue to be a theme. Also, 1, 2, 3. 3 fires right on the precipice here. That's yet again invoking necromancy at every step. 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So, that would mean necromancy, humanity, divinity. Okay. That's interesting. Sort of, is it controlling the spirits that will allow for a person to rise to godhood? Or is it saying that this person is a god that is associated with necromancy and death? Death root, quite plain here. Hi there! Yet another one of these skeletons. This one has a fire pot. Very interesting, that. So let's consider this room. We have 9 candelabras here, flanking on either side, indicating there is some sort of divinity that is being invoked and redoubled in the form of 18, which itself is 8 plus 1 numerically. So that's interesting. There's a supreme emphasis in passing through this area, heading into an area of divinity. Then you have a massive bit of ghost, or death root here to the left. A blank wall over here, but grave glovewort 1. And on the other side, oh dear. Two skeletons, by the way. Grave glovewort 2 times 1. So 2 gloveworts, that references spirits, but spirits are being captured by the death root. So let's count a little bit more. You have 20 candles in this line if you count the standing candlesticks and the candelabras. 20 is equal to calcium. Bones. Haha, there are skeletons being evoked here. Yes, obviously there is going to be calcium involved. But it's also worth noting that this is a sort of structural reference. Calcium shores up the body and ensures that it has a framework of some sort to work with. Now that is interesting insofar as, if we look at the statue back out there, you have a framework which the cross is being, or I should say the person in the shape of a cross is being grafted onto. That sort of grid is very much similar to a lattice which a vine would grow upon. So you have this sort of cross-lattice grafting. And calcium is being evoked in juxtaposition with this individual. So perhaps bones and calcium are also associated with him, not just iron. Around the edge here, you have 3 unlit torches, and 1 which is lit. That one which is lit represents a sort of soul. 3 represent necromancy, as we already established. Now let's look here. We have 1 candlestick at each corner as well. So it is evoking the crucible yet again. 8 is a composition of 4 plus 4. But you also have, because of the 1 lit up torch, an evocation of Nitrogen, 7 remaining. No life, yet the soul, in the form of this one, is there. This is very curious. Very curious. Makes me think of Melina, who has no body because she was burned and made bodiless, yet seems to be a wandering spirit of some sort. So, with that in mind, that's 8 and 20 so far. 28 is going to evoke the element nickel. Nickel is a sort of interesting case, insofar as it's a shiny, silvery metal that you could say is similar to iron or steel in some ways, but its actual name is associated with someone called Saint Nicholas, who makes me think of Kale for some reason. A sort of red paternal figure. One who is jolly and gives out presents, perhaps. I don't know why these images are coming into my mind now, but it would seem to be so. And he might be someone, since he's noted to be a saint, who could be linked up with the grave root here, to make it seem like there's some sort of divinity being associated with the idea of this Nicholas fellow. You have 29 and 30 then, because there's another glovewort. 30 is the jagged tooth, zinc. Zinc is something that is, well, let's just say symbolic of death itself. As such, I think this is referencing the death root that is spreading throughout this area. You have the woman who is associated with the death birds. You have the weird connections with this mysterious, grafted individual who seems to be connecting himself with Merica here, who's being associated now with Deathroot in some way. Very strange. Destiny. Very strange that things would be fated to be this way. That death would be associated with some sort of saintly divine ascendant figure. Regardless, we have a couple of interesting things to note. We have one torch on this side which is lit up, and one on the other. That one torch is interesting insofar as it is only part of a set of 3 torches that are actually lit up. So, that means necromancy is being evoked yet again, connected with death, and there's a sort of symbolic mirroring here. 3 of 5, like the fingers snipped off of the hand at the neck of this weeping peninsula. At least visually speaking, 3 fingers bereft of 2. The maddening 3 fingers we recently learned about. So you have... Actually, it's not only 5. Because we have the other 3 torches along this side here. So that makes it a total of 8 torches. The 5-fingered hand almost seems like an illusion now. Very curious. 3 darkened fingers, 3 lit up ones. Wonder what that could mean. Light and shadow being compared to one another. Regardless, looking around the room here, we had 20 and 8. And then we had 30, while including these grave wards. But let's continue on, because we have some other torches to involve. We have this one, and this one. And that will make 34. 34 adds up to selenium, the moon. There is some interesting sort of connection there. Some symbolic connection to the moon, to death, to necromancy, this whole tableau. Weirdly, it's making it seem like this woman who's in the other room, who's associated with divinity, death, and necromancy, might also be associated with this figure who is replacing Merica in that church of pilgrimage. I wonder what's going on there, because that can't be Merica, can it? Oh yes, regardless though, it's not just selenium, because one of them is lit and one of them is not. The other one is arsenic. Arsenic is an incredibly nasty poison that causes cancer, loss of feeling in the digits, the sort of transformation of lively, flesh-inhabited skin to something that is more pale and purple. It is a vicious poison that blocks out the mind with its neurological degradation. I wonder, what could this possibly mean in connection with this figure? Deathroot is being associated with that person. Necromancy and the deathly flame are associated with the other, but also this arsenic. Arsenic is being brought up in connection with the individual in question. Probably the woman. How could that poison be related? I don't know. Let's continue on now. This and this we hadn't considered earlier. Let's just add them up as a unit. Neither of them is lit, so there's no reason to count 35, but we can count 36. 36 is Krypton, the hidden one. And given that is the case, this suggests that information about that person who is behind the fog wall is probably hidden and very difficult to come by. They are an elusive figure, a mysterious one, who has some great importance to the past, and yet is being denied in the present. 2 candles at the threshold of exit to this room. Let's add those in, say 38 then. 38 is strontium. Strontium is associated with illumination, but also a warning. It is representative of the poisoning of the earth, the destructive fallout of some sort of cataclysmic event that left things in the environment forever changed. The winter that comes after some sort of cataclysmic impact, perhaps. That is something which is very interesting to hear here, insofar as we have surmised this person and their legacy has been buried, hidden away underground here. I wonder if this means that she used to be a god in a previous era, and yet her demise led to a cataclysmic destructive event, which saw a great deal of suffering and permanent damage to the world. Well. A curious thought that is indeed. Now, Before we move on, we have 2 more 9-shaped candelabras. With 38 so far, we're going to add those in. 38 plus 18. That'll equal element 56. Element 56 is barium, which represents heaviness by way of its linguistic root. There's some sort of grave which is associated with this general tableau, some sort of heavy heart, or literally death. A person being buried. Catacombs evoking this shouldn't be too terribly strange. But I think it's talking about some sort of mass die-off event. Perhaps... Oh, we recently actually found out that death and the grave are associated with gravity magic, thanks to the linguistic roots of gravitas and the encounter that we had with the Starcallers. So perhaps this is saying the cataclysmic end of the divinity in question came with a gravity magic event, some sort of fallen star that shattered their rule. That's an interesting conclusion. Finally, we have incense burners. Not only is it the case that this place probably was being, was experiencing some sort of death rites in the past that had to do with the burning of incense, as is commonly the case when you're taking after the dead, or rather, taking care of the dead. But it also brings us to 60, because those are also burning objects, despite not being candles or torches. So let's find out what element 60 is. Element 60 is neodymium, which means the new twin. That would suggest a taking up of some sort of strange relationship. How can you become someone's twin after the fact? Are you swearing to be part of their marriage? Their family union? Are you becoming one with the person? Does that mean that the person is being married? No. I think there's a very curious sort of situation here. Neodymium. The new twin must imply new life, new birth. Say, the rebirth of someone who died previously in a distant land and yet was revived here, in our lands between. I wonder, is that applicable? Are we thinking in terms of the guilty? Did she actually have some sort of criminal activity that brought about the cataclysmic downfall of her age? Or is it the fact that, as we surmised before, she had no sin, but the weight of others' hatred was placed upon her, and revenge was taken where inappropriate? We'll have to find out. Little Scalamen in a row. Well, not quite. More and more deathroot as we go on. This place is incredibly infested by it. It's clinging onto every wall and burrowing through every ceiling. Goodness gracious. Pass through this area, we see on one of these pillars there is another lit torch, on the other there is not. 3 is being purposefully evoked here, signaling necromancy. But we also, as we continue in, see there's a candle as well, saying necromancy and death in the same breath. And then when we enter here, we find another torch. Completion and intelligence are being considered. It seems this place really is fond of that woman. Turning in here, we find grave Gloam-Eyed. Almost as if the woman hasn't truly died. Her soul wasn't captured. Although to be fair, it is worth noting that Deathroot likes to gobble these things up. So maybe she died and then came back to life. Perhaps as a result of... Let's see, what was it? What was the exact terminology used here? Key item, Deathroot. The Rune of Death. On the night of the dire plot, it was stolen and enabled the death of the first of the demigods. The Rune of Death spread throughout the lands between, through the underground roots of the great tree, sprouting in the form of Deathroot, a source that gives rise to those who live in death. So perhaps it's saying that old god was revived by the Rune of Death. That through contact with it, she was able to find some sort of reignition of her spiritual activity. Anyway, in addition to that, which brings us to 6, by the way, emphasizing her humanity, we come over here and we find an item. Just out in the middle of nowhere, not even on a corpse, which is very rare. It looks like there's bloodstains surrounding it, and there's some sort of muddy water here. Human bone shard. There's that emphasis of humanity again. Yet, 7 is no life. No life. But a spirit, a ghost, associated with the crucible here, through 8. This was sheltered somehow. Not brought into the roots. And yet, we are finding this storytelling mechanic telling us that there is some sort of connection between Deathroot and the woman in question. Oh, and there's another skeleton. Prepared. Up, and one more lit up candle. Yet again, emphasizing the divine aspect. Entering here, we see 2 lit candles and a candle stand. The sun and the spirit. And Gloam-Eyed in the middle here. The skeleton was guarding Gloam-Eyed. Oh yes, there were 2 skeletons out there as well. 2 skeletons. Almost like it's referencing that twin aspect before. The 2 individuals, but one being referenced. Most curious, that. Two spirits brought into skeletons. Oh, but one is in the ghost glove ward. So 2 are in the body. 1 is bereaved of body, like Melina. Interesting. Let's think this through. Now, it's a little bit outside of my remembrance right now. 1 candlestick, 2 candlestick. 2 and 2 skeletons. That's 4, that's death, but you also have this glove ward, that's 5, intelligence and completion. A torch, which brings us to 6, humanity yet again. 7, the unlit torch, emphasizing the no-life aspect. And here, another candle stand. Crucible. Right here on the edge of this area, still inside the room, we have 2 lit candles. That means we have a total of 3 fires within this room. Necromancy yet again. And 10 as a total being associated with it. So, Sun and Crucible. Sun and Crucible. Sun and Crucible being linked to neon. A bright, glowing, energized substance. Made plasmatic electricity. 1, 2, 3. 3 candle stands. Necromancy being brought up yet again, and then we have fire here. 2 candles. 2 that are lit up. 3 candlesticks suggesting necromancy, but 2 is helium, sun, and the spirit. Finally gives me something out of it. Smoldering butterfly. So smoldering butterflies, which are associated with Melina, are being brought up here. I think in part that might be because of the fact that these skeletons can throw fireballs. But Melina being associated with this place is not something to be underestimated. Bone shard on this grayed out corpse. Under fire. A silvery corpse. Burned and disconnected. And a smoldering butterfly being associated with it. This could mean. Ow. I'll go on ahead just a little bit, fight another skeleton or 2 in here. Oh, yes. Okay. Darn. Oh! Darn skeletons. They destroyed one of the chairs. That's gonna be something that's actually important here, I think. Let's investigate this room before then. 4 skeletons, 4 chairs. 1 glovewort, which is a grave glovewort 2. That's divinity being directly associated with necromancy here. You have 11, which is sodium. Sodium is power in necromancy. And then you have this body here. This adds up to 12, or magnesium. Magnesium is a sort of artificial metal. Or rather, not being artificial itself, but symbolizing artificiality and weak legs. And here we find this prattling pate.
Thank you.
Which appreciates the fact that we are putting these to rest. Thank you, it is said, for being given a chance to go into this glovewort. Is it the fact that this person here wanted to see the skeletons actually have a chance at being given peace through the glovewort, but it was spoiled by the rune of death? Why is there a thank you? What could be going on here? Gratitude being associated with some sort of deathly ritual? I don't know. Oh! That's brought me extremely close to death. Oh, blessed am I, who is able to cling onto it in the face of these travails. Mushroom. Ah, yes. Mushroom is associated with scorching butterflies through the fire pot. Mushroom, therefore, is associated with fire, with the burning prospect of the pot. Mushroom and fire. Mushrooms glow with a similar yellow to that of the Erd tree. I wonder what this is saying. Smoldering butterflies, melanin, Erd tree, mushrooms. Golden rune on a body, being guarded by a skeleton. Pass through the necromancy death symbol here. Wow, there are a lot of candles. No enemies, though. So, let's try to figure this thing out. One of them is very purposefully knocked over, so we'll count it at first, and then not count it a second time. 1, 2, 3, 4. That one is knocked over as well. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So, 12 on the outer perimeter, suggesting artificiality, leg problems. And then 10, which is sun and crucible, helium and oxygen. Okay. We have 4 more in the way of candlesticks surrounding this. So that's either 14 or 16. 16 is sulfur. A fallen god, a god of fire, perhaps, because sulfur is always associated with flame. It is also 1 plus 6, which is no life, and it is 8 plus 8. It's 8 twice. So you have yet more crucible and sun associations. The sun is being associated with some sort of fallen divinity of fire. The Earth Tree we found with a warming stone was once thought to have the rays of the sun's capacity to heal people who were near it. Oh yes, there are holes in this room. 4 holes to let in light from above. Sunlight, but linked with death. Curious. So that's 20. This is yet again calcium. There are bones everywhere, but structural support, toughness, rigidity. 2, 4, 6, 8. So you have, 18. We just turned those up. Dumped over. 18 is argon. Ah, yes, we associated this with the 1 and 8 earlier. So that brings divinity into thought, but inactive noble. An inactive noble, someone who is perhaps in the background, biding their time. I wonder. And then we add up 8 to the 20. 8 to the 20 brings us to 28. 28 is nickel yet again. Another linking of this Saint Nicholas, this Niklaus fellow, with this Queen of Death Flame, whoever she might be. And you get 1, 2, 3 central flame. Oh! 4! 4 deathly flames going on here. You have 1 torch there. And 1 here. So, that's 1. Okay. No torches on either side there, so we have 6 torches. 6 torches which are actually lit up in this room. That's emphasizing humanity through carbon. But it's also the case that this adds up to 28. 29 or 30. Yes. 29 and 30. And also 28 in the case of the tipped over ones. So, let's see. I already talked about it earlier. 29 and 30. It's worth noting that the 28 is quite emphasized here. Oh wait, no, we didn't get to 29 before. Copper. Copper is essentially the root of bronze. It's the same sort of metal that that woman's statue is made out of. So for one, that's actually very much worth keeping in mind. Copper is being associated with her. Copper comes before the age of iron, though. So, with this person who is iron being associated with divinity as well at the church outside, with this person being a sort of buried divinity here, that has some interesting implications for the timing. It makes us think her cataclysm was in ancient times when copper was the actual main metal being used for tools. Which has interesting implications in the world, I should think. So a very ancient goddess here. And then 30. Element 30. So, 30 is zinc. Zinking is harmonious fusion. The combination of two disparate elements to form something beautiful. Copper and zinc come together to form brass, which is something which is very similar to bronze. And that is the material that this statue is made of. So there's an interesting sort of thought going on here. Copper and zinc. So, let's see. Do we have any glovewort? I don't think there is glovewort in this room, just grave violet. And we have counted one. Okay, yes, okay. Counted all the torches, all of the candlesticks. We might consider... Ah, yes. We haven't included the ceiling holes. I don't think. So let's see again. 12, 20... 1. 24. 26. 28. Ah, yes. We have 2 lit candles on the periphery here. 3. Okay, 3 lit candles. That's necromancy. You have 31 that's also being brought into play. Gallium. The rooster, Gallus. The sun being brought up. Or he who crows at the sun. Then you have this grey violet, which brings us to 32 again. You have these in the ceiling, which I might have actually counted already. That brings us to 36. 36 is Krypton, the hidden one. So, is that all? I think that might be all of the main business of the room, but I think it's also worth noting that beyond all of these fire things, we do also have these to consider. Coffins. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 5, 6. So yeah, 6 coffins. 6 is being added on to 36. That's 42. 42 is the meaning of life. And it also represents the answer to everything. The answer to everything is the coming together of opposites in harmonious union. Okay. So death and life coming together. That is what is being considered here. as well as blue and red to make violet, perhaps. Crows, if nothing else, are associated with red, and we have red fire in this room right here. Contrasted with the blue fire in here. Ow. Let's see. We can continue on that way. That will bring us down. I saw that statue from behind earlier, and from behind it almost looked like the statue of the woman, but here we can tell it is actually death. The woman is mimicking death. Oh, I bet I... Yes. The skeletons that were in this room, I think I also must have counted them. There were... No, there weren't any skeletons in here. That was quite notable. So this place was just 42. We go back into here, we start with 2 skeletons. Talking about the spirit. 2 alcoves which each have a box, 1... and 2. 1... That should be 4 as a result. No, 5. 2... 4... and 5. So, a group of caskets, a sort of family that is completed with 5. Interesting. And then you have a great coffin, representing perhaps the progenitor, which is not dead according to the grave glovewort that is sitting here. So that's 6, and 7 with the torch. No life, yet not dead. Spiritual existence, perhaps? You have 3 more torches, which brings us up to 10. But 4, or death, is being invoked. Yet again, invoking the mimicry of a death god. So. 10 is Sun and Crucible. We already established that. And I think that's all we actually have for this room. 2 skeletons, 6 caskets, including this big one, 5 there. That's a total of 7. Then, wait. 1, yes. There are 5 of those, 1 of those, and then 4 torches. 4 torches and 5 normal caskets brings us to divinity. Divinity associated with this one here, who is cold with the sun and the crucible. Then you have the glovewort. That brings us to 11, which is power and intensity in the form of sodium. I think that's sodium, but wait. I forgot something. Something very important. Sodium is not just a conductive silvery substance. Sodium is sacred preservation. The ritual continuation of one life into another. Rebirth. I see. Indeed, that progenitor is not dead. 5 daughters of one progenitor, perhaps. Like the Miranda with her 5 children. And then 2 skeletons, which brings us to 13. 13 is the final coalescence of everything in this room. Aluminium. And aluminium is a very, very lightweight metal. Lacking weight, and so opposite of the heavy, the barium. I suppose that means associated with life instead of death. Curious, curious. But I guess that is what the previous room was talking about. The union of opposites, life and death coming together. Bringing forth rebirth, perhaps. We go through here. We see another marker of divinity, but turned to the side, half toppled. Lots and lots of wax along the walls here. You have another one, a candle holder here, tipped over, suggesting 10, or the sun and the crucible. One lit up candle, meaning sodium, energy conduction and revival. 2 more candles at the very end, bringing us to 13 yet again. Aluminium, lightness. The lightness, perhaps, of a soul being weighed and found not wanting, and therefore worthy of a positive afterlife. Oh. And then we could see 2 more candles. 2 more brings us to 15. 15 is phosphorus. Phosphorus is bright, burning white light, associated with time. And time is life and light, and the crucible's source. Interesting. But hanging above, linked directly with this phosphorus, we have death, the source of life, and the god of death linked together at the heel, with a golden white flame. It looks so very, very purely white there, actually. It's only sort of gold because of the background, maybe. Or maybe there's just a pale semblance of gold fading in those rays. Regardless, this brings us to 16. 16, yet again, is sulfur. The fallen god, the flame, the burning, the brimstone. And a grey violet indicating ghost flame. Ghost flame linking them all. Ghost flame as something shared between life and death, perhaps. What an interesting thought. Let's pull the lever. See what we shall find at the end of this catacomb. Somewhere a heavy door has opened. It's interesting how it's transitioned from one subject matter to another. How complex the interweaving of all of these things is. We need our strength, so we shall rest at the site of grace before moving on. Dun 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 dun. Passing through the divine threshold, which splits apart a tree and makes it look like there are limbs coming into every direction. There's a very interesting sort of liminality here. The golden fog which is behind it creates a very curious sort of descent into the depths of death for the sake of reaching divinity feeling. The cemetery shade. This creature wields scythes evocative of a death god. And it is a crowned figure. Whoa! Shooting out green magic. A crowned figure. Let's see. What's going on here? One who is missing a heart. One who... Up! One who I'm beginning to suspect. Ah, yes. It would appear... It would appear this is the union of two different individuals. There is someone on top, which is casting that green magic, and someone on the bottom who is wielding two blades. Two great swords flung out with great skill, set to reap us. Life and death being evoked at the same time. This figure, this gaunt, blackened corpse, is still mimicking some sort of life. Almost, you might say, a half-life. But all good things must come to an end. Like this. Let's head back. Down, down, down. Into this area which is lying under the shadow of the minor Erd tree. In the darkness which is below. And find our way back through the golden fog. To face the shadow of death once more. To face this kingly apparition. This deathly lord who leaves me no quarter. Three battles it shall have been now. But on the third time, we shall find the charm. And we shall reach the end of the road. And one stab through the heart ends. Here where we fought this specter of death and life, we find one who lives without a head. That is an interesting thing. Who is this Lutel the Headless? Legendary ashen remains, used to summon a spirit of Lutel the Headless, spirit of a headless knight who leads the Mausoleum soldiers. Soldiers, perhaps. That's interesting. The Mausoleum prowls, who are guarding that mausoleum, wields a lance enrobed in death, and hurls spectral lances at foes. Lutel sacrificed her life so that in death she could continue to protect a soulless demigod until after their revival, earning her the hero's honor of Erdtree burial. Sacrificed her life so that in death she could protect a soulless demigod. Who is this soulless demigod? Who might be revived and brought into this world despite the soullessness? Who might have that hollow within be filled with something else? The Headless Warrior, who was buried within the Erdtree after her duty was fulfilled. Who could this represent? Because I know it's the case that this is not just some place. This dungeon here, this is not only representative of the underground of the capital. This is quite clearly speaking to more. It is representative of great cosmic shiftings of religion, belief, life and death, the uniting and splitting of factors. And Melina has been brought up surprisingly quite a lot in its symbolism. Brought back from death so she could serve a soulless demigod, huh? Could it be representing her? But why would it be saying, I am a soulless demigod? That seems a bit incongruent with the reality here. We emerge back once again out of this realm of death, and most intriguingly, into the shadows of the architects of the world above, who seem to have known that this would be a very important place. This... it weighs heavy upon me. The sky weeps. My soul is dragged under once again. I must depart. Take a rest. Until next we can speak again and wander this world. This great place of living tombs. Catacombs. Mausoleums. Sleep well, fellow travelers of this land between.